Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you are new, if you're not new, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marina, and first things first, just want to get out of the way. I am recovering from being very sick. I am fine now, but my throat is still a little bit meh. So with that being said, if I start hacking, coughing in this video, mind your business. I'm gonna try to edit out all of that if I can, but it's inevitable. So if my voice sounds kind of weird, sorry, but I'm feeling alive enough to film, so I'm gonna film. I want to film as much as I can while I'm feeling like this, because me being sick kind of set me back in terms of what I wanted to put out in December. So with that being said, let's get started. I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I want to read in 2025. My last video was me talking about anticipated releases that I can't wait to read in 2025 that come out 2025. But this video is just going to be books that I did not get to read this year or the past several years, some that I've owned, some that I don't own, and just the books that I just really want to prioritize reading in the new year. And if I can do that, great. If I can't, this isn't a set in stone list. My taste might change within the new year, and looking at this list 6 months from now, I might not want to read some of the books on here. Who knows? I don't know. But I do think that this is a good list. It consists of 12 books. Pretty much the same amount as my anticipated releases. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to read these, especially because most of them are ones that I already own. As you guys know, trying to knock off books on my physical TBR as always. And so yeah, most of this list purposefully consists of books that I own already. So without further ado, let's get started. First book I really want to read is one that I have been recommended countless times, to the point where I don't know why I have not read it yet. I'm kind of embarrassed at the fact that I haven't read it, especially because I think this duology is complete. It's been completed for about over a year, and I still have not gotten to it. I really want to read The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. If you know, you know. This is kind of a really popular sci-fi duology, specifically amongst Black readers. A lot of people, specifically on my TikTok account, have recommended this to me several times, and I don't know why I haven't gotten to it yet, but I do want to read it. It looks interesting. I can't really tell you what it's about. I know that the trope for it, not that it's I don't think it's romance heavy, but I know that the romance trope for it is trainer trainee, and I like that. And I'm interested. But as far as the plot, like I said, I have no idea. I know it's kind of sci-fi heavy. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, don't ask me what it's about because I have no idea. I just know that I've seen this cover everywhere. I've heard many people talk about it. So there's no reason for me not to read it. I just haven't for some reason, and it's been bothering me for years. So I'm gonna read that. I'm gonna read The Blood Trials. The next book I want to read is one that I own, and one that I have mentioned a few times on this channel, Amari and the Night Bros by B.B. Alston, or Amari and the Night Brothers, sorry. This book is very popular amongst middle grade, but also just general audiences. I've heard many people talk about this book, give it high praises. I know that I think the third book came out in the series, so I have catching up to do, is what I'm hearing. I started this book a while ago, and then I stopped because I just wasn't feeling in the mood to read a middle grade at the time, but then I never picked it back up. And I remember really liking what I was reading. I just really wasn't feeling it at the time. And I still own the book. I still plan on reading it, and my plan is to read it in 2025. I've heard a lot of praise about this as well. Again, everyone, not even just middle schoolers or anything. I know that this book is for intermediate audiences, but that's never stopped me from reading a middle grade book before, and it shouldn't stop anyone else, because when it comes to reading, age is really just a number. You should be able to read any book of any age without being judged. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But yes, I do want to read this. This is honestly, I feel highest of high priority because of the fact that I do own it, and it's been staring me down forever, it feels like. Okay, the next book I want to read is, I think, a memoir. I don't know. I've always been confused on if this is a memoir or a fiction. Someone please tell me. I want to read In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. I know that this book is an exploration of an abusive relationship. I don't really know anything other than that. I'm pretty sure from what I've heard, it has elements of the author's real life story of dealing with an abusive relationship, but I don't know if it is like nonfiction or not. And this book has always like caught my attention. I've heard about it for what feels like years, and I really want to read it. I kind of want to like get into other books that I usually don't read in 2025. I say this every year, but I never do. But in 2025, I'm actually going to try. I made a list of bookish goals that I want to complete. If you guys want me to make a video of my bookish goals, I can. But it was just like a one-off list that I made like last month that I'm going to try to do throughout the year. And reading more nonfiction isn't one of them, but it is something that I do have a little bit of interest in. But if this isn't nonfiction, it's not going to stop me from reading it. I just feel like from everything that I've heard about this book, the author does a really good job of writing about the topic, whether it's because she herself has lived through it or not. I don't know. I've heard that her writing style is very beautiful, very different from other authors and their takes on this kind of story. And I just want to see what it's about. This isn't one that I own, though I have been thinking about owning it just so I can like build up on my nonfiction collection on my shelves, because that's very sparse as you guys saw from my reorganization video. I don't really have many nonfictions, so I might buy this if I end up liking it. I don't know, but that is a book that I do want to read in 2025. Next book is one that, again, I do own. Finding Jupiter by Kellis Rowe. I got this last year for my birthday, I think. I think my parents got me this last year because it was a book that I really wanted, that I asked them for, and then I never got to it, and I don't know why. Because this is a book that one of my mutuals on TikTok recommends all the time. Ebony, if you're watching this, hello. She loves this book. I know nothing about it other than Ebony loves it, and I trust Ebony's opinions. And that's all there really is to say about it. Like, I'm pretty sure it's a YA romance, I think. I don't know. I know it's a romance. Nothing much else to really say. I love the cover. The cover is purple, so it's giving me hope that I'm gonna love it even more. Say that's stupid, and you're probably right, but I don't care. That's just the way that my mind works. Don't know really anything else. I never even read a book by this author, so I'm gonna be going in very blind. As I think most of these are from authors I have not read from yet, so 2025 is just gonna be like diving in head first type of year when it comes to the books that I want to read. But I think that's more fun. I don't want to get too bored with what I read, because I also think that's why I was in such a slump this year with the way I was reading. I was kind of reading, I feel like, the same thing over and over again. And yeah, I just don't want to do that in 2025. I want to be different. The next book on my list that I want to read is a sequel to a book that I read all the way back in the springtime of this year, I want to say. That time I got drunk and yeeted a love potion at a werewolf by Kimberly Lemming. Yes, that is a title of a book, and yes, it's very serious to me. I read, what was it? That time I got drunk and saved a demon. I read that all the way back in, I think, March or April, and I loved it. Kimberly Lemming, she is hilarious. That book was so unserious, yet so serious to me. Again, like, I can't stress enough how much I loved that book. It was such a good time, such an unserious time, and I kind of want to experience that again. It was a very quick read. I remember just really liking the characters, liking their dynamic, their banter, just the setup of the plot. All of it was hilarious to me, because obviously, if you're gonna tell by the titles of these books, they're not really supposed to be taken that seriously. Yes, they are like paranormal or romantic-y books, but they're not the serious kind. They're kind of just like, read it, get lost in this world by having a good laugh type of book. Like, I consider these rom-com books in a not so typical rom-com way. But yeah, I read the first book. I think I gave it 5 stars, and I expect to read the rest in 2025, hopefully, and love them even more. But I know that That Time I Got Drunk and Needed a Love Potion at a Werewolf is the second book, and I actually want to go in the order with this series, so I'll read that book and then I'll read the third. I'm pretty sure there are only 3 books out right now. I don't know if she's gonna make more, but I'm pretty sure there are 3 out, so more to look forward to. Yeah, Kimberly Lemming, from that first book alone became one of my favorite authors of 2024. I will be making my favorite reads of 2024 video that will be coming, so keep a lookout for that. But I think that time I got drunk and saved a demon is definitely up there for me. It was just so funny. Like, Kimberly Lemming, I would love to hang out with her and just pick at her brain. The next book I want to read is one by an author that you guys know I have high praises of because of the one book I read by them that's very popular amongst everyone. I want to get into this author's other works, and I think the next book I'm going to read by them is Emma by Jane Austen. You guys know how I love me some Pride and Prejudice, and my goal in 2025 is to read more Jane Austen. I think Emma is a decent place to start. I don't really know if there is a right or wrong order when it comes to Jane Austen. I just want to get into her books, and I feel like other than Pride and Prejudice, Emma is like the second most popular of all of her books, and I'm curious and I just want to see if I'm gonna like it or not. I have not seen any adaptation of it, so I haven't seen any movie version of Emma. I don't even really know what it's about, other than the fact that the main character is unlikable, which makes me honestly want to read it even more. I love an unlikable main character. I do. It's true. So I don't own Emma as of right now. I might buy a copy just so I can read it and or annotate if I please. But yeah, there are hopefully going to be many Jane Austen books that I read in 2025, but I think this is like high up on the list. Also, one of my friends really loves Emma, and she's been asking me to read it for the longest time. So this is also to just like take that off the list of many of my friends' recommendations, because I have a list of those as well that I just really want to knock out in 2025. So kill two birds with one stone. Emma is hopefully going to be getting read next year. Okay. Next book is one that I own that you guys have also heard me talk about. I will be reading The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang in 2025. I'm scared as hell saying that, but I need to read this. At this point, it's going to be almost 2 years ago that I read The Poppy War, because I read it when I was studying abroad in England. Oh my god, that was almost 2 years ago. That's so, oh my god. That's such a scary thing to think about. Time is not real. Anyway, yes, I read The Poppy War almost 2 years ago, and it sent me down an emotional spiral that was very hard to get out of. Very good book, but oh so triggering. Very, very triggering, which I did know about. I just don't think I was prepared, and that book sent me into a very hard reading slump to come out of, and I'm hoping that the sequel doesn't do that to me. But because it's almost twice as long as The Poppy War, and I've heard that it just gets even worse from other, not worse in terms of like the story, but worse as in like emotionally damaging. I've heard this from everyone else who has read it in my life. They say I will love it, they just don't think I'm prepared, and I'm come to the point where I just don't think I'll ever be prepared to read this, so I might as well just knock it out. You know, I'm really hoping that it doesn't send me into a reading slump. I cannot afford another reading slump. I cannot. I do want to get to books on my shelf this year though, so this has to be read at some point. I love R.F. Kuang, as you guys know. After reading The Poppy War, that was my first time reading R.F. Kuang, and I dedicated my life to reading the rest of her works. You guys know, reading Babel as of right now, and then I also want to get to Yellowface, but in 2025, best believe this is getting read. I might honestly have to reread The Poppy War before reading this though, because I don't remember much of what happened. I'm not gonna lie, I think right after I read that book, I blacked out. Like, it was just so much that I don't remember, so I might have to reread that, which is a scary thought in and of itself, but it's something I'm willing to do because this book has also been eyeing me down forever. I have to read it, and then I have to get the third one. Which, sidebar, the issue with getting the third one is that I bought both of these copies while I was out of the country. As you guys can tell, these are not the copies that you get in America. I'm pretty sure the US ones are colored with white text on them. Both this copy and the Poppy War copy that I own are both UK editions, and I don't have the third one, so I'm gonna have to like order that online, and it's like a whole thing that I really don't feel like doing because I want them all to match, because I like these covers more than the US ones. Hot take, I guess. I don't know. I might just wait until I get all three. Yeah, I might just do that, because that way maybe I can read it all in one sitting. I'm trying to find a way to make this easier for myself, if you couldn't tell, because I don't want to procrastinate it any longer. I want to just do it. This series is one that I'm so scared to read, but the fact that I've already started it, I feel like that's the first hurdle, is starting it, and then the rest should just be easy sailing from there. but I've been told I'm wrong. So the next book is one that I've also talked about in a few videos now, that I started the series of, and I hated the first book, but I'm very excited to read the rest. And the next book in the series is The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. Now, you guys know how I feel about Interview with the Vampire, the book. I was not a fan of the book. Love the show. Biggest fan of the show. Still one of my hyperfixations till this day. It's going on 5 months now of me being obsessed with that show. However, Anne Rice's pen for that first book, I don't really understand what the hype is there. The sequel, The Vampire Lestat, I am very excited to read. This is going to be a very, very hot take. If you have read the book or if you have watched the show, I am a Lestat truther. I love that man so much. I love every character in the Vampire Chronicles universe. I think that they're all so complex and interesting and multifaceted and just so dark and like kind of unserious characters. Like, as vampires, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this series, like obviously like really heavy dark stuff, but as characters they're kind of just like ridiculous and silly. Like, half of their decision making is not serious. And I feel like Lestat kind of falls into that category, and I've been so interested in knowing him as a character forever. So I'm just gonna read his book, because his book is the sequel. After the Interview with the Vampire, it's The Vampire Lestat, and then the third book is The Queen of the Damned, and I have it all in this one thick copy right here that has all 3 books. I'm just gonna read The Vampire Lestat, and hopefully I like it. If I don't, then I'm just gonna give up, because if I hate the first 2 books, there's no hope that I'll like the third. But I have a feeling I'll like the sequel though, because everyone says that Interview with the Vampire is the most boring one out of the trilogy. Like, everyone says that, and everyone says that after that, smooth sailing from there. So I'm hoping that is the case, because, not gonna lie, it's not that the book tainted the show for me. It's just the fact that like the way that Anne Rice writes, I feel like if it weren't for the show, I would not be into this story at all. Like, it's very easy to imagine the show's characters as the characters in here for me, but it's also hard because of the way that she wrote them. They're just so different. I am one of the people that feel like the show tops the book tremendously. That also might be a hot take. I don't know. I know that Anne Rice has like some hardcore die-hard fans. Y'all can have your opinions, I'll have mine, okay? But I don't think that the book and the show are even really comparable for real. There's not really much to compare between the two of them. The show is a really good adaptation, but that's what it is, an adaptation. The book was just not for me. But I heard that the 3rd season is going to be covering the Vampire Lestat book, and so I need to read this before that comes out. Fans of the show are saying it's coming out in 2025. Can we be serious? That 3rd season is not getting dropped until 2026. We're not getting that season anytime soon. Okay, next book I want to read is also another one that I own. It's one that, again, my parents got for me because I asked them to get it for me, and then I never read it. And it's a sequel to a manga that I loved when I read it a few years ago. So I don't know why I have not read this. I think I read the manga like 3 years ago, and I have yet to read the sequel. So this is actually very annoying to me that I haven't read it yet. Orange Volume 2, The Complete Collection. If you know, you know. Orange is kind of like a classic staple in manga. If you know manga, then you know of Orange. You don't even have to read it. You probably have just heard the name. I read the first collection, again, like 3 years ago, maybe 4, and I got this one a little over a year ago. I haven't read it yet. Don't know why. This is kind of a priority. I feel like this is, yeah, not even kind of. This is one that I feel like is going to get read, because if I'm being real, I don't know what's been stopping me from reading this. It's not that it's sad, because the first collection was sad, but it wasn't like so sad and traumatizing that it put me in a slump like the Poppy War. It was really good. I loved it. I loved the story. I loved the illustrations. I loved everything about it. So I don't know why I've been putting this off for so long, to the point where I know I'm gonna have to reread that first one because I don't remember anything. See, this is what happens. I go so long in between reading sequels that I just forget the plot entirely, and then I have to go back and reread books. And not gonna lie, that's not something that I want to do, but it's something that I'll have to do so I can just like readjust my brain. And yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna have to do with this. I'm gonna have to reread the first volume and then get to this, but if that is the case, I'll do what I gotta do. If you guys don't know about this story, it centers around a main character who gets a letter from herself from the future saying to look out for a new guy in school. He is a loner, very nice, but he just sticks to himself, and he's gonna need like some friends and people who are there for him. And the main character is like, this letter is very ominous, this letter is very weird, and I don't know if I can trust it. And then all of a sudden the next day she sees the new guy, fits the exact description that the letter from her future self says, and then she continuously gets letters throughout the manga saying, hey, watch out, this is gonna happen, make sure that doesn't happen, hey, watch out, this is gonna happen, just be there for him when it does happen, and like stuff like that. And it's kind of like interesting. It's an interesting story about friendship and mental health and just being there for those that you care about. And I think from what I remember of the first collection, like I said, thought it was a very beautiful story. I don't know why I haven't read it. One of my goals for next year is to read more like graphic novels and manga and stuff like that. So this will help with that goal for sure. I feel like the lighting is getting worse because it's so cloudy outside. That's a shame. Now on to an actual memoir that I know is a memoir. Okay, so next I want to read They Said This Would Be Fun by Eternity Martis. I have heard good things about this book from a friend, and I trust this friend's recommendations, so I'm going to read it. From what I know, it's kind of giving Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton, that one book that people seem to love. I have not read that book, but it seems like the description is like that, but with a black person writing it, and how that intertwines with their experiences on those same topics in that book, and I kind of love that. This is following Eternity as she's going through college and going to a PWI, and what her experience was like in that environment, and how it ended up affecting how she sees the world and herself moving forward after college, and her relationships and her work life and just everything. And I like that because I am that. Hi, I'm Marina, I'm black, I went to a PWI, and I feel like that book is definitely going to make me feel a little bit seen. And I like books like that, you know. Like I said, I don't really read many nonfiction books or memoirs. I'm going to try to change that in 2025, but when I do, I want to read memoirs like this, ones that I know are for me, that can help me with the types of problems that I'm facing. I want to read books that will help me with those. I'm willing to read like many authors from many different backgrounds, whatever, but whenever I hear like, oh, a black woman's memoir, specifically like a Gen Z black woman's memoir about like where they grew up, how they grew up, their environment and stuff like that, I'm always gonna gravitate towards those, just like how I do with like my fictions and stuff. It's just easier to relate to books when they follow characters that match my description. Next book is one that has been on my shelf for an eternity. I feel like this book I bought literally, I want to say 4 years ago. Robert Jordan's The Eye of the World, the first book in the Wheel of Time series. Ooh, this book is heavy and I don't want to keep holding it, so I'm just gonna like put it down. But yeah, I want to read Eye of the World by Robert Jordan because I've had this book forever. It's been in the background of my videos forever, and I'm tired of it staring at me, and I'm tired of staring at it. I'm reading this book. I'm going to read it because I remember liking the show when it first came out. I have not kept up with the show. I know that there is a second season. I don't know if there's a third season or if it got renewed for a third season, but I feel like I want to read the book first. And yes, the book is long and that's intimidating, but that's not why I haven't read it. It's because the series itself is intimidating. The series is like 15 books long. 15 books. Do you know how crazy that is? Like, I don't think I'm exaggerating either. They're like at least 15 books in the series. So if I end up liking this, a commitment of 15 books is scary. But I remember the plot of the show, and I remember liking the plot of the show. And I also remember people telling me that if I like the show, I might like the book. However, I've heard readers of the book say that they hate the show. So, you know, whenever there's a mixture of audiences from a book adaptation versus like the book's fans, there's always going to be a little bit of conflict there in terms of like how people feel about either or. I'm open to reading the book. Obviously, I've owned it for years. I have yet to give it away. I've had a chance to unhaul this book many times, and I have not, because I do want to read it. And I think 2025 just might be my year. We'll see. I also got the anniversary edition of this for some reason. I mean, mostly because it's pretty. I love this version of the book. I think it's stunning. But I, again, have not read it. So we're going to fix that in 2025. I think I'm just gonna have to dedicate a long period of time to reading this though, because I don't think this is a book I'm gonna read in one sitting. Could you imagine a book the size of my head in one sitting? No, that's not gonna be happening. I'm gonna have to make some time for this one, but I think it's gonna be worth it. I hope it's gonna be worth it. I don't think I'm gonna be disappointed by it. It's 15 books, man. I can read a long book, but a 15 book series with books that are all equally at the same length, you know, Robert Jordan had a lot to say and he made that known. Good for him. Okay, and the last book that I will try to read in 2025, that I want to read in 2025, One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I have been seeing this book in a lot of places, mostly across BookTube. A lot of BookTubers are reading this, and I think it's because they've seen it on Book Talk. And one of my friends in real life has read this duology and have given it high praise. So I think it's time that I read it. I think this is a finished duology. It's the Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig. I don't know much about this other than the main character has a monster inside of her. I think it's like in her head. It's kind of giving Venom, and she's on the run from something, probably like a kingdom of some sort that's out to get her because of the monster in her head. And I'm pretty sure she has a romance with the prince of the kingdom. I don't know if I sold that book. I probably didn't. Look, I've only known what my friend has told me about it. I didn't really look up the description of this book. My friend has told me what's happening in the book in blurbs as she's reading it. What I picked up is what I just told you. That's all I really know. I kind of don't want to read anything else. This is a book that I want to go in completely blind. Yeah, I don't really need to know anything else, but I heard that the writing style is very like fairy tale-esque, kind of gothic in a way, and that intrigues me. I want to read books with that type of writing style. Hopefully it's getting read soon. I don't own it. I might. It's been eyeing me down every time I go to the bookstore, not because of the cover or anything. I honestly don't really like the cover. Well, actually, I don't know. A lot of people hate on these covers. I don't think they're ugly. It's just not a cover that of a book that I would buy from. It's just the fact that because I've been wanting to read it since my friend has brought it up to me, that I feel the need to buy it, but I'm not going to do that yet. I'm not going to do that yet because I need to make space on my bookshelf for books that I know that I do want to read. So maybe that's a book that I'll just read on my Kindle, and then if I end up liking it, I'll get a physical copy. Yeah, those are all 12 of the books that I want to read in 2025. Like I said, this list is not set in stone. This list could change. My taste could change. I don't know. My vibe might change in 2025. I don't know. But these are all books that still interest me, books that are on my shelf, books that are not on my shelf, that I do want to read, and hopefully I get to them. And if I don't, it is what it is. I really hope I do. This looks like a really good list of books because these are books that I have been wanting to read forever. So of course I want to say, oh, this looks like a good list of books. Like, no, of course they do. But I really do want to read them. We'll just have to see though. I don't know. If you guys enjoyed this, thank you. If you guys would like to follow me on social media, it's all in the description below underneath me. And yeah, tell me what you guys are excited to get to that you haven't been able to get to yet in 2024. Any book that I mentioned in this video, if you guys also want to read, let me know. Any book that's on this video that you guys want me to know that you want to read, let me know. Yes, that's gonna be it for today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye everyone.